Welcome to This Is My Architecture. I'm Christopher from AWS, and today I'm joined by two guests. Bradley from the American Commercial Barge Line, welcome, and Matt from Cedrus. Excellent. So, Bradley, what do you do at the American Commercial Barge Line?
We move heavy freight up and down the river systems in the United States.
Excellent. And Matt, what does Cedrus do?
Cedrus is a consulting firm that works with a bunch of different clients on things from security to cloud-native solutions and cognitive business automation, robotic machine learning, and we basically bring people into the 21st century with modern solutions.
Excellent. Right, and how did your two companies meet?
I actually was looking for an AWS certified partner, so I went to the AWS partner network and I was able to find Cedrus, and that's where we met the connection to move forward.
Wonderful. Excellent. So this is a very interesting ecosystem. So Matt, could you take us through this?
Absolutely. So just to start, what we're looking at is a web application that's hooked into a set of microservices. A little bit of background on the project. ABCL is working through progressively updating their applications from a VB6 and Oracle application over here. Old application over here, and they're modernizing it to the cloud. But instead of doing the lift and shift, move it to an EC2, they decided to just simply jump to serverless. So we have a solution here that includes Lambda, DynamoDB, AppSync with GraphQL, and an Angular SPA on the front end.
Wonderful. Excellent. So let's go from this end first and foremost. So how do you get the information, the data from the Oracle system into this ecosystem?
Good question. So one of the cool things is, as we're working through the project, the old application is still being used on a day-to-day basis, and we're progressively adding the features that were there and re-implementing them in the cloud in a modern solution. So as we go through our day-to-day, we need to synchronize our data. And for that, we are using the DMS service and a few different things to push to our database. We will publish that over SNS. A Lambda service will pick that up. So here. And finally, we format it for DynamoDB and finally push it to the DynamoDB.
Excellent. Obviously, getting information from a relational database into DynamoDB is obviously very easy in this mechanism here, but there are some design challenges, I assume, around this. So what did you encounter?
Absolutely. When we first went into the project, obviously when we're doing computers, we tend to think of things in a relational data. So it's very interesting to have to unthink the way that we've been trained to think about relational data. And DynamoDB makes us think about things in a very different way. When we first came into the project, what we saw was DynamoDB was being treated as a relational database. We had a table for one type of data, a type of data for here, a type of data for here. We had a few of those for each kind of data, which if we're talking about things that are related to each other, that means you would have to make a few different hops to relate this to this to this. What we did is we actually took a look at this and identified there's a lot of data that could be relationalized. And the way to do that in DynamoDB is an adjacency list pattern.
Okay.
Taking that many-to-many data, one-to-many data, and combining it together into one table, which seems almost counterintuitive. This is where we have to unthink the things that we know, where you have a partition key for something like a vendor. A vendor may contain the data itself about the vendor information, but it may have other things like an operating area, its address, so here, an operating area. All this kind of data is combined together under one specific partition key, which then provides you that flexibility to say, okay, I need to get vendor data and make a call, combine it together, and provide it for the user to view.
Bradley, that's not the only data that's coming in. We've got data coming down here from the microservices. What are these data points?
So the data points coming out of this bottom Lambda, this microservice, are data coming from the United States Geological Survey and weather, which is talking about the flow rate and flooding of each river in the United States.
And this is coming up into AppSync, and it's been married by the legacy data. So why did you choose AppSync to do this piece?
AppSync is really good for combining multiple kinds of different data together. It provides an interface. It also, when we're having a microservices architecture, it allows us that flexibility to grow, where we have queries and mutations that are reaching out to one microservice, start adding in schemas from another different microservice, and it starts to marry those together as one specific interface that the client has control over. They get to choose what data they want back. They get to choose how that data is formatted, and it also makes one hop between those different calls and controls how it comes to the front end.
So it's an incredibly efficient mechanism in that respect.
It is.
Wonderful. Now we have Cognito up here as well. So what role does Cognito play?
Cognito controls our authorization for the application. So we have an Angular application as our SPA on the front end. When a user logs in, they'll first reach out to Cognito, which will then provide them a token. which controls first from the Angular perspective, which views get shown or hidden based on what kind of user, what kind of data it's going to query for. But in addition to that, we have AppSync. When we're making our query to the AppSync API, it'll tell you whether you have control, access to a mutation, whether you have access to a certain query. There's a lot of built-in directives from AppSync that integrate very well with Cognito. So we have different roles, different users, and we get to control that from that perspective.
Excellent. So this is great. So you've got the ability to control the roles both at the AppSync level and at the application level as well. What power does that give you, Bradley?
Well, one of the nice things that AppSync also gives us is it allows our end users to query our databases without understanding SQL or our data structure, and they can just understand the nodes and how they interrelate to one another.
Excellent. That's incredibly powerful.
Yes.
Excellent. Well, this is a fantastic ecosystem. You're bringing across this relational data structure. You're marrying it with modern contemporary microservices down here via AppSync. You've effectively normalized your data over here in DynamoDB to obviously be more effective and efficient. That's a really, really good step in that respect. And ultimately, you've got the extensibility that AppSync provides you in conjunction with Cognito, so your users can actually access the information via the application or directly via AppSync without any additional development, which is really, really powerful in that respect. So I really appreciate you bringing this into me. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Excellent. Thank you for watching. This is my architecture.